In the country, there's 2.3 million people that are currently incarcerated. In Michigan, there's 41,122 people that are incarcerated. Now, if we bring this down on a practical level, with being able to work with the prisoners, in Muskegon County, there's 1,195 people, men and women, that are on probation, and there's 407 men and women that are on parole.
It's important to know that we have 5% of the world's population and 25% of the world's prisoners. This has been a phenomenon that has become the result of decades of policies that are tough on crime, but not smart on crime. For Michigan, that means that 39,000 people in Michigan live in cages. To give you a perspective, that means 1 in 10 kids in Michigan have a parent who is incarcerated. And the entire population of Muskegon County, if you drive from Pierre Marquette all the way through town and you get all the way over to East Muskegon, every house you see, every person who lives there is 39,000 people. Every single one of them is behind bars. That's the same population.
Two and a half million people of our citizens are incarcerated. And we can't be a civilized nation with those kind of numbers.
And we got a lot of neighbors who are incarcerated, some unjustly, some justly.
The disproportionate number of individuals that are locked up in our prisons for most of them petty crimes.
They're like animals living in cages.
We feel like there's always a hole in our family. At Christmas time, we just went through the holidays again without him.
We know that Michigan has, on average, longer incarceration time than other states. We have an inability for people who are behind bars to work any kind of benefit to themselves that gets them home earlier to their families. We know that children who have someone from their household who's incarcerated are more likely to have post-traumatic stress syndrome. 67% of kids who have someone from their home who were arrested have witnessed that person be handcuffed. We know that we spend $30,000 a year to put someone behind bars in Michigan, and we spend $14,000 a year to educate someone. We also know that all of these decisions are the result of policies by legislators that got us into this mess, and policies can get us out.
One of the most difficult people to receive are people with those kinds of convictions, okay?
Because of the connotation it carries.
Right, and it's always the connotation because people don't know they don't know, and I don't feel a need to go into it at this point either, And the government doesn't help because, on their registration list, there's no discrepancy on level.
They don't tell you.
I think there's a number of challenges. A lot of them are, you can't take everyone coming home from prison and put them in the same boat and say that they all have the same challenges. It's not the case. People are at different phases in their life. Some are not as educated as the others. Some may not, their personality may not be as charismatic as some of the other folk. Some may have mental health challenges that others aren't battling. Some are battling addictions and others aren't. And when you look at those things, those pose different challenges to different people, right?
The most common question that I get of the men inside is, how will the church receive me when I get out? What are they going to say? Where do I go? What does it look like? How are they going to treat me? And that's a harder question to answer to the men inside than to people I attend church with outside, because I know how my church is going to receive them.
So many people want their own pound of flesh. They don't ever consider,
I want my pound.
Yeah, okay, you did what you need to do, now you need to do what I want you to do, to make amends and make that better.
I think the church looks like that.
There's certainly some churches absolutely more than others.
Some aspects, yes.
And that the support system is a very major reality for people in terms of whether they're going to succeed or not. They need that. You need a support system. You need a job. You need people that are going to love you no matter what. You need to have that sense of belonging internally. You fit in. You're here. And if not, then you're going to be dealing with abandonment issues. You're going to be dealing with fear. And then when that happens, then the temptation or the call of the street, so to speak, is going to become very, very real.
You know, a guy or girl, they just need to know that they got a fighting chance, you know, and to have somebody approach them, you know, and with just a little bit of kindness, a little bit of attention, you know, some love that you're talking about. You don't have to take them out to Texas Roadhouse and buy them a big old ribeye, but you know, it's cool if you do.
It would be nice.
Yeah.
I looked a long time for a church that had that authenticity and true belief in what the Word says.
The church just doesn't know how to minister effectively to people outside the church. And I mean that in the sense of being able to minister effectively where they don't make the individuals being ministered to feel weird or feel like it's their pet project. That, look what we did. We helped so-and-so. We ministered to so-and-so. This guy just came out of prison. He's our poster boy for what it looks like as we do as a church. We help the prisoners coming out. But in reality, you didn't do anything. He got saved in prison. He just happens to attend your church.
Part of that greater works is to receive a person regardless of their walk. Because here's the Lord saying, whatever you can hold against that guy and not receive him because of, I died for that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I died for that.
Right.
Just like I died for you.
Jesus Christ didn't hang out with all the disciples and people of God, but he hung out with the sinners, the prostitutes, the murderers, and he himself tried to show them the Word. Don't you think that we should do the same?
The church has to, I believe, each local church needs to ask themselves a couple questions. Number one, how can we as a local body, how can we be a benefit and blessing to the city? Number two, each local church should understand and realize, what are we graced for? Are we here just to preach sermons and get people filled up with knowledge, but no one's being released into their destinies? A local church should be thinking like, okay, how are we going to engage the world?
There's a lot of people in there that can be influenced by other sources, and when they come out, those sources are still influencing them, and they're still lost. When you get them when they're down, get to these guys when they're down, and they're desperate, that's when they can find Jesus and come home and be somebody. And they can make a change for not only themselves, but their families. And that's the biggest thing. So we can rescue one child from going the path their parent went, right there's a win.
One of my favorite verses is, do unto others as you would have done unto you. And if we live by that verse, really, if we took one verse and lived by it, and if that was the one, we wouldn't be in the position that we are today. And it's so easy to forget, but it's a simple thing, quite frankly, to remember and try to live by as best as you can.
All throughout Scripture, there's this idea of grace. What it is, who it is, what it does for you, and we're creating the image of God. So to be creating the image of God, that means no man is above the idea of grace, to being forgiven, to being redeemed. Everybody has this innate right to be treated like a human. And so as a human being, we should want to have others, we should want to treat others as we treat ourselves.
Proverbs 31, before it talks about the character of a godly woman, which everyone knows and is real popular, it talks about verses 8 and 9, where it states that we should treat people fairly. It talks about speaking up for those that can't speak up for themselves and defending the rights of the poor and the needy. And that's what the church has to be about. But if you're a believer and you believe in the Bible and it's got it there, just listen to what it says. Try to help them, because with that help, they usually gain more encouragement and then they'll gain more courage to do what's right.
Kingdom life, for instance, Okay, the first week I came to church, I didn't know anybody in the church. Some of the staff from 70 times 7 at the time, but the first person that approached me was Sean, and he came right up to me and he said, "What are you doing after church?" And I was kind of freaked out. I didn't know where it was leading. He goes, "Well, I got a little bit of time. Why don't you, you like Burger King?" I said, I'd just gotten out of the joint. Of course I like Burger King. And we spend 45 minutes, an hour, and I remember how slowly I was eating because I was so caught up in what we were talking about. I never eat that slow, but I remember I kept having to look down and stop and take a bite, just and it was that first acceptance, that brought me back.
Okay, I'm gonna get one and cut it in half. Okay. Speaking of that too, something better not eat.
How are we going to engage the world so that we can share the hope that's on the inside of us? I mean, what are we doing that's engaging to the world?
Honestly, I think the church's response to that should be one of grace, that of being a witness.
To come alongside them where they're at, understand the challenges that they have emotionally, spiritually, and be there for them to have that ear to listen to the things that are bothering them.
Now, everybody's not always going to say they need a mentor, but you can always just come along somebody and work with them, help them out, share love.
Stay encouraging. Try not to be too judgmental. Sometimes folks, their road, their journey is different from others. Sometimes people get it the first time, sometimes they don't. So if there are people who don't seem like they're getting it right away, just do whatever you can to try and encourage them, love them, welcome them, and it will happen.
We should speak up for them. Speak up for those who are vulnerable, speak up for those who are needy, speak up for those who are in need of help. And I think honestly that should be the church's response should be one of grace.
And just that comfort level is another big thing, making somebody comfortable. Back to the restaurant thing. When somebody walks in the door, the first thing you want to do is greet them because they don't know what their first step should be. It's such an uncomfortable feeling. But all you gotta do is say, "Hi, how you doing? Welcome," and the tension evaporates a little bit, the anxiety evaporates a little bit. Just a little thing that we can do to make. It doesn't just have to be somebody coming back from prison for anybody. Right? Isn't that? When somebody comes to your church, young, old, new, it's a place to love people. That's what Jesus did.
Just making yourself knowledgeable of social justice issues, things that are plaguing the community, things that can help these guys or these women come back home and not necessarily return at such a fast rate or return at all. So I think the church can be an advocate in the ways of using social media as a platform, letting people know that everything's not always as cut and dry as the lawmakers make it seem.
Well, a lot of, in my experience and in my career, a lot of the things that we deal with at this level, when the prosecutor's office or law enforcement is involved, so most of the time can be tied back to the family. And one of the things that I know our churches really work hard with and sometimes struggle with is dealing with that core family, whatever that family looks like, whether it is the traditional mom and dad, or is it a mom, or is it just a dad. To me, that's probably where the churches can play a very vital role in helping us slow down those that are feeling the need to break the law for whatever reason. If we can deal with what's happening at the home, at the family level, that to me solves a lot of problems because a well-structured or at least a well-supported family unit makes a huge difference in whether or not somebody's going to make sure that they're going to school, on a regular basis, making sure that their reading and math levels are where they need to be, and if they're not, looking for ways in order to help strengthen those levels, graduating, moving on to whatever that next step is, whether it's college or a trade school, just that level of encouragement. But that all starts at the family level, and churches probably have the best direct connect to that, and making sure that that unit has that support, and when they need that support, that those folks are there to help that. And so I see that being probably, if there was a big calling churches could do, that would be it right there. That would solve, to me, that would be a step in the right direction of solving the bigger picture. And so the more that we're able to do that, obviously we're hoping that continues to spread, because what a wonderful feeling for somebody to come out of prison or out of jail, reborn, if you will, and seeking more answers to those really important questions.
Hebrews 13:3. Remember those in prison as if you were the fellow prisoners, and those who are mistreated as if you yourself were suffering.